Okay, so welcome back to the Bianconeri once again. Today I will do the daily news show because Justin is out of town, and we will talk about something about the news. You know, basically international break means some phony transfer news stories, but I think for once the news seems legit because it's been reported by multiple sources and we were linked with those players in the summer and even before the summer. So I mean, still they're not the best sources out there, but I mean, some of them have gained some trust over the summer. I mean, basically doing some great reporting. I think the first player we can start off, the first news report is Vlahovic. I think yesterday Nico Schira, who works for the Gazzetta dello Sport, broke that he wasn't signing a new deal with Fiorentina, and the main reason behind that decision was Juventus basically lobbying him, and we knew that from the summer that Juventus were interested in him, but they stuck with MORATA for many reasons, because we didn't have the money. Ronaldo was supposed to stay, then he left a few days before the window was over, and I mean, there was no chance to get Vlahovic. I still think the Vlahovic story sounds a bit weird because and two parts. First, Fiorentina didn't want to sell him. There was 80 million offer from Atletico. Fiorentina said no, and Vlahovic basically didn't really want to leave, and that makes me think, why didn't he want to leave? Because yeah, Atletico is not, it's not a small club. Atletico, they don't play the greatest sort of football, I would say. Maybe that's something that held Vlahovic back, but I think it's a bit more than just that. I think he's waiting for something better. Juventus, Man City, basically those two teams at the moment. Maybe Barca, if they get their things, their act basically together, but it's basically those teams. So today, Rocco Commisso, the owner of Fiorentina, came out and said Vlahovic is not renewing his contract with Fiorentina. I'm sorry for it, because he would be the highest paid player in our history. Like I said previous, that's very strange for an owner to say that basically 2 months into the season. I mean, it's throwing him in front of the Lions, and the Lions being the Fiorentina fans. So it's a very weird situation he created now. Because these are normal things in football. Players not signing a new deal, wanting to leave, but a club owner coming out and saying these things, even I would say mid-season, but it's not even mid-season. So it's a very strange situation. It makes me think that he might even leave in January, because I mean, he's leaving in the summer. He has a deal until the summer of 23, so he's not signing a deal. You need to sell him now, or he's a free agent in the summer of 2023. So he's leaving this summer, but with this situation, the owner basically calling out the player, I think we can suggest that there's a possibility for January. Now, I don't think we can get him in January, because basically we don't have the money unless you offload players. But the players you can only offload are midfielders at the moment. So you're gonna offload midfielders and bring in another striker. That doesn't make sense to finish out the season. I mean, you need, like I said many times, bodies. Even if McKennie, Ramsey are not good enough or not available, you still need a certain amount of players to play Champions League, Coppa Italia, compete for Scudetto or the top 4 place. You need players. So I think it's something to keep an eye out, but it's obvious that we are interested in Vlahovic. I mean, I think the rumors date back from January last year, but even when he was at Dinamo Zagreb, we were linked to him because Paratici is a big fan of him. That's why he was linked to Tottenham, and that's why Tottenham was basically looking at him. Should Harry Kane leave? Who can still leave because he's not doing great. He wants to move. That's obvious. But then again, will Vlahovic go to Tottenham? I mean, if he can go to City, even Atletico Madrid, Barca, Juventus, I think he will pick those teams over Tottenham. I'm pretty sure he would. But then again, if all those clubs are in for Vlahovic, the price will go up, and that's something I think we cannot afford at the moment, to compete with Man City or even Tottenham if they sell Harry Kane. So then Nico Schira again came out and said Juventus offered Vlahovic a 5-year deal worth 6 million euros a season. I think Fiorentina offered him a 5-year deal worth 4 million euros, but I don't think it's about money. I think he wants out of Fiorentina, which, with all due respect, it makes sense. Fiorentina are not a big club. They will remain this side for, I would say, forever. Maybe they can turn into an Atalanta for a few seasons, but that's as far as it will go. I mean, yes, in the past they were better, I would say, but times have changed. The market has changed. They cannot compete, and I think Rocco Miso is still not aware of that. I think he gets angry because Chiesa wants out. He wants to leave for a bigger club. Vlahovic wants out. That's how it works at Fiorentina. It is what it is, and he cannot basically do anything about it besides tying those players up to long-term deals way more in advance. They didn't. I think in the summer they made a big mistake by not selling him, and now they need to deal with it. He's not signing a new deal, and I think we have a shot. But again, if all the money goes to Vlahovic and this midfield remains the same, and you bring in Rovella, I would say it's still not worth it. I think we can score goals even without Vlahovic, but we cannot compete for what we want to compete with the midfielders we have. So it's something to keep an eye out. Let's see what will happen, especially during the winter transfer session, because the next story basically fills into that. And the next story is that Tchouameni is our #1 target, and I think he is a name we get linked to since, I would say, okay, the first reports were in April, but in summer it picked up a lot, and those reports never went away basically. Yeah, people say it's Tuttosport, but even Nico Balice, Luca Bianchini, who are pretty good journalists, keep bringing up this name, so there must be some truth in it. I think even Romeo said something in the summer that we are looking for him for the future, which also makes sense, but because the club wants younger players with maybe a value to sell in a few years should they want to leave, which can happen because they're not Italian players. They want to leave at some point, not all of them, but some. But you should, if you sign a 20-year-old or 21-year-old in 4 years of now, they have a big sell on value if they keep progressing. I mean, if you sign a 28-year-old one, the value is what it is. At 28 years old, it's not gonna increase massively. It will decrease in 90% of the cases. So it makes sense that we are in for Tchouameni. So Tuttosport is saying that he's the #1 target for January. The club will try to sell McKennie and Ramsey, and Tchouameni will cost the club around 40 million euros. Now, the question is, will Monaco sell mid-season? They had a pretty rough start to the season. I think they picked it up a bit now. I don't know if they will compete for Champions League this season. They were in the title race last year until, I would say, 4 or 5 games till the end of the season. So I don't think that will happen this season. Maybe they can push for Champions League again, but even I would say that's a stretch, looking at how they have started. But then again, will they sell their most talented player, one of them, their most important player, mid-season, and replace him with who? Yeah, Monaco sell their players. They're that type of club, but I'm that basically now in January. That I don't know. It would be very strange if they do that, to be honest. For many reasons. Yeah, you need to find a replacement. That's the biggest reason. Can you find a replacement for him in January? That's something you need to take into consideration when you're basically looking at those players. But again, I said at previous streams, he's a defensive midfielder, and Rovella is also a defensive midfielder. Rovella is playing pretty good now, and we own Rovella. We spent 80 mil or 70 mil on Rovella. Doesn't make sense to spend another 40 million on a player who plays on the same position, or doesn't make more sense to just wait and see if Rovella keeps progressing like he's doing now and just bring back Rovella and spend that 40 million euros on another midfielder. People will say Tchouameni is better. Yeah, he is. I agree. He's playing on a higher level for a longer time. He plays Champions League football, played Europa League, so it even got called up for the French national team. So yeah, he is better. He's playing longer at that level. So I would agree with that part. But if Rovella keeps improving like he's doing now, then I would just bring back Rovella and spend the money elsewhere. Again, in the summer I wanted Tchouameni because, like I said before, we don't have a defensive midfielder. We don't have one for a few years, and even the previous ones were not. So we need a defensive midfielder, and if Rovella keeps progressing like that, I will take him over Tchouameni, who is better. But again, our financial situation is not looking good, and we need to do a lot of work in the summer. We need to replace free agents. So yeah. Then another news story is Bremer. We're linked to Bremer, the defender from Torino. I think that's one of those bullshit stories. He looked very good against Keane, but I've seen games of him where he looked very shaky. And then again, Torino's not selling to Juventus. So that's something I think is just Tuttosport saying Allegri was impressed and we are getting linked to him. I don't believe it. So, but we need a defender, I think. I don't think Rugani is good enough. Chiellini will be in his final year. Bonucci is getting older, so you need to look at it. And Bremer is 24 years old, so he would be a good fit, but I don't see this happening. And then the last bit of news is Dybala. So there's agreement in principle for the renewal of Dybala, says Romeo, for 9 million euros with bonuses, which was reported yesterday. It was coming, you know, we knew this was going to happen, and basically it finally happened. I think he's got a lot of disrespect over the last few years. I don't know if it was valid disrespect. I mean, he is a bit injury prone in the last few seasons. I think that's the biggest issue fans have. But his quality is, I don't think any doubts about his quality. It shows when he plays, and when he doesn't play, we see that. And we cannot let him go on a free or something, and again spend more money for a player we had in the team already. So happy that this is finally over, so we can move on now, because it took like 2 years now to find a deal. Basically, it started with Paratici, and now it's finally done. So that's good news. And then going off again with Morata and Dybala. It's not sure when they will be back. So Morata and Dybala, the break will be very important. Dybala could make it back for the first match, so against Roma. And for Morata, there's a hope he can make Zenit or Inter. I'm pretty sure he won't make any of those 3 games. So not Roma, not Zenit, and not Inter. So like I said, previous streams, it's Keane time to step up, because he's not playing good, but he will need to pick it up, because we don't have a striker otherwise. And I don't want to see Bernardeschi up front once again. I just want to see a more of a number 9. I don't think Keane is that number 9, but he's more of the number 9 than Bernardeschi is, obviously. So Keane will need to pick it up. That's something I'm pretty sure of he will do, but he will need to do it immediately from the Roma game, because I expect him to start that game. I think it's too bad that he got called up. I'm happy for him, but I prefer him to stay with Allegri 2 weeks and just train, you know. But it's what it is. I hope he plays for Italy. I think he should play because Immobile is out, Belotti, and even if they were there, I think they're not good enough. They show that. So I hope he plays, and I hope he gets his confidence back, because we will need him until Morata is back. So that was the news for today. As expected, it's international break, we're getting linked to players, but I would say for once they are legit links, and some good players. So let's see what will happen over the course of this few weeks, if it will pick up, and then in January we will see. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I think tomorrow Justin will be back with his daily news show.